When people think about autism and eating, one word often comes up: picky. But that word doesn't even begin to capture what's actually going on. Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica Bays. I'm a researcher in nutritional psychiatry, and my work focuses on the relationship between nutrition, mental health, and well-being in autistic adults. For World Autism Awareness Day, I wanted to talk about something that's still widely misunderstood: eating. Because the way autism and food are talked about, especially in adults, often misses the complexity of what people are actually experiencing. One of the most common misconceptions is that autistic people are simply picky eaters. But this framing can be really misleading because it suggests that the issue is preference or that someone could just choose differently, when in reality, eating differences in autism are often shaped by sensory processing, interoception, executive functioning, and past experiences with food. So rather than thinking of this as picky eating, it's more accurate to understand it as a complex interaction between the brain, the body, and the environment. Another thing that's often misunderstood is hunger. Many people assume that everyone experiences hunger as a clear, reliable signal. But for some autistic adults, that's not the case. Hunger cues can be subtle, delayed, or difficult to interpret. So instead of feeling gradually hungry, someone might only notice fatigue, irritability, difficulty concentrating, or they may not notice hunger at all until it becomes quite intense. This relates to something called interoception, the brain's ability to recognize internal body signals. And differences in interoception can have a significant impact on eating patterns. Another key piece that's often overlooked is how much executive functioning is involved in eating. Even simple meals require planning, decision making, starting a task, and follow through. When executive functioning is under strain, this process can feel overwhelming. So you might know that you need to eat, intend to eat, but still struggle to start. This isn't about motivation. It's about how the brain manages energy and task initiation. Now, food is also a highly sensory experience. For many autistic individuals, sensory input can be more intense, more noticeable, or more difficult to tolerate. This can relate to textures, flavors, smells, and even temperature. So a food that feels neutral to one person may feel overwhelming to another. And importantly, this isn't something that can simply be pushed through. It's a genuine sensory experience that shapes what feels manageable to eat. Now, this is where nutrition and mental health intersect. When eating is difficult, whether due to sensory differences, interoception, or executive functioning, it can affect how regularly someone eats. And when the brain isn't receiving consistent energy and nutrients, this can impact mood, energy levels, concentration, and emotional regulation. From a nutritional psychiatry perspective, eating patterns play an important role in supporting mental well-being. So understanding these differences isn't just about food, it's also about mental health support. So instead of asking, why can't I just eat normally? A more helpful question might be, What is making eating difficult for me in this situation? That shift opens the door to more supportive approaches. For example, reducing sensory barriers, simplifying food choices, using external reminders, and focusing on good enough eating rather than aiming for perfection. It's about working with the brain, not against it. For World Autism Awareness Day, there's often a strong focus on awareness, and awareness is an important first step. But awareness on its own only tells us that something exists. What really makes a difference is understanding. Understanding what these differences and experiences actually feel like. Understanding why eating might be difficult, and understanding that these challenges are not about choice or a lack of effort. And from there, we move on to something even more important: acceptance. Acceptance means recognizing that different ways of eating, different sensory experiences, and different body signals are valid. It means shifting away from trying to make autistic people fit into expectations that may not work for them, and instead creating environments, advice, and support that actually meets people where they are. Because when we move from awareness to understanding to acceptance, we create a space far more supportive, realistic, and compassionate approaches to health. And that's where meaningful change really happens. If you'd like to support research in this area, I've included a link in the description. It helps us continue building evidence-based support for autistic adults. If this video resonates or reflects your experience, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And if you're interested in learning more, I have other videos on interoception, executive functioning and food, and eating during autistic burnout. And if you're interested in more evidence-based neuroaffirming approaches to nutrition and mental well-being, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.